Bob Holt's the only one of our usual weekly guests that I ever get a chance to bump into in person, outside of Clay Henry. But Bob's been on the show longer here. I remember Bob bumping into him at the in the grocery store a number of times, and then this last Saturday we sat next to each other for a little bit of the Jason Carroll party, which we'll have Jason on the show on Monday when we get into media days. And it's always good to see you, Bob. I enjoy having you on the show, but I was about to say one-on-one. That was more like, how many people did we have there? Like 15 or 16 people. It was a great get-together. It was great to sit next to you. And now we get you on the show today, just before Media Days starts. So how are you doing?
It was a fun time, yeah.
So what is your plan for Media Days? Now that are you going? Are you going to be traveling to Hoover? Because, this is a chance to resume relationships that you have had a chance to carry on for quite a long time, and at the same time ask some questions, of which I'm sure you're already coming up with some.
Yeah, the Arkansas Democrat Gazette have a full crew there. It'd be me and Tom Murphy and Wally Hall. That's the plan for us to resume, normal. I don't think it's normal these days, but, we've gone for many years. Obviously didn't go last year because there was no event, and then we're all planning to be back there again this coming week.
Bob, you are known as the first question of SEC Media Days. When I first heard your name, and I've heard about SEC Media Days, your name has always been thrown out, and I've always heard that you get the first question, but I've never heard the reasoning behind it. How did you get the, honor of being the first question?
I don't know that I'm necessarily the, quote, first question. There was one of the years, Gus Malzahn, obviously Gus grew up in Arkansas. I guess he's a Texas native. People may or may not know that, but Gus grew up in Arkansas, and so I got to know him a little bit when he was, coaching high school ball up here, and I got to know him a lot better that in 2006, I guess it was, when he was the offensive coordinator. And so then when he, went to Auburn, I remember going over and talking to him for a story when he was at Tulsa as the offensive coordinator. They came back and played Arkansas, and then he did really well at Auburn as the offensive coordinator. He did pretty well as a head coach. I guess it's not well enough.
Mm-hmm.
And Auburn's a hard job. Maybe the hardest job in the country. But anyway, I got to know Gus fairly well. Of course, he always had a lot of Arkansas guys on his staff, and I think there was one year he just got inducted in the Arkansas High School Coaches Hall of Fame. But there's always Arkansas angle to Gus, so I'd ask him some questions. I think it was one year he just said, hey, give Bob the first question. But sometimes I ask first questions, sometimes I don't. Sometimes there may not be a coach that's getting a lot of questions, but it's not like it's written in the SEC bylaws or anything. I might get the first question, maybe somebody else will get it, which is obviously fine.
Seems pretty straightforward with Sam Pittman's decisions on the two players to send, and I didn't realize that they were cutting the number of players from 3 to 2. So Myron Cunningham and Grant Morgan are headed here. And, pretty obvious why you would send either one of these two. I wonder if there would have been a third. Traylon Burks would have been the third player. Or maybe would it have been Jalen Catalon? Or does it even matter because you don't have a chance to even worry about a third?
Yeah, obviously a lot of coaches are like this. I think Sam Pittman wanted to reward his seniors. And Grant and Myron aren't just seniors; they're guys that took advantage of the extra COVID year. So this will be their 6th year of college ball, I guess. And obviously Grant had a great year last year, and he was, made some All-America teams. Just led the SEC in tackles. I think had an incredible year. And Myron had a very good year on the offensive line. He's an offensive tackle, key spot there. Burks is, I think, the quote big name guy on Arkansas's team. He's projected first-round draft pick, and has coming off a great year too. That's just kind of a coach's decision. Obviously, I think if they're going to, I guess they're limited maybe because it used to be they'd put guys in different desks in the room or tables or whatever, and people just kind of gather around them. I don't think that's going to be allowed this year with COVID still being an issue. And so maybe they just felt like, well, there wasn't enough time for everybody to have 3 players, maybe doing individual interviews like up at the podium, I think might be the case. But, generally a coach has an offensive player, defensive player, and then if there's a third guy, he's obviously going to be one of the every once in a while, he would bring a kicker if he was good enough. But yeah, I'm sure Myron and Grant will do well, be good representatives of the UA.
Bob, how hard is it, or how tough is it on a coach his first time at SEC Media Days, and what do you really expect out of Sam Pittman?
Yeah, I guess it just depends on the coach. I mean, some guys, you figure if you're an SEC coach, you've got to be able to communicate pretty well with recruits, with boosters, with parents, with administrators. I mean, you interviewed and got the job. But some guys are obviously better than others. I mean, Steve Spurrier, he was kind of the king of SEC Media Days. He always came in really loose. Of course, he won a lot. That made it easier. But he'd tell funny stories. He was very blunt. People might not like his answers, but you couldn't argue that he was telling you, the way he saw things. I always thought he was great to deal with, and he was, like I say, he was kind of the king of media days. A guy like Mike Shula, who I think is a very smart coach, but that really wasn't his thing. You could tell he was nervous, kind of felt out of place. I don't felt out of place. He did not feel comfortable, Barry Petrino, frankly, who was a very good X and O's coach, he did okay, but he was not in his element doing public speak. I guess something he was real comfortable doing. I think Sam will do well because he's not. Brett Bielema did well. Brett's an outgoing guy, funny guy. I think Sam's the same way. I mean, I can't speak for Sam, and obviously it's going to be the first time he's done something like this. And he didn't get the usual Razorback Club deals. And I know he's done some of those more recently, but Sam's an engaging guy. That's why he's such a good recruiter. I think it's such a big reason why, as an offensive line coach, he got a head coaching job in the SEC. He obviously, if you watch those post-game videos, he, really relates well with players. And so I think Sam will do well. He'll probably tell some funny stories. He's got a pretty quick wit, self-deprecating humor. So I think Sam will do well. But it's interesting because there's going to be 8 coaches, because they canceled last year. There's going to be 8 coaches who've never been at SEC Media Days with these particular teams. The one exception is Lane Kiffin made a previous appearance, I think in 2007. Whatever year he was at Tennessee, he was there. But that was 14 years ago with a different team. So this is going to be pretty unprecedented. I think 8 new coaches as far as being new to those schools. At SEC Media Days for the first time. Obviously, Sam Pittman and Lane Kiffin and some other coaches are going to their second year at that school, but this will be their first time Media Days representing that school, and you have 4 new coaches, too. So more than half of the SEC coaches are going to be making their first appearance at SEC Media Days for that school they're working at now, which is that's pretty wild to think about.
Well, and that includes the other 2 coaches that are coming on right after Coach Pitt, who was the first coach on Thursday, and then Brian Harsin and Eli Drinkwitz are the other 2 to wrap up Media Days Thursday. Look at the Wednesday schedule. This is something else. Nick Saban leads off. Mike Leach batting second. Jimbo Fisher, in a year that A&M, we just spoke with Olin Buchanan about it. He thinks that they have an outside shot at a national title this year. Fisher's the 3-hole hitter. Clark Lee is your cleanup batter. And, a guy who knows the spotlight as a defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, but your first Media Days in the SEC at Vanderbilt, you follow Saban, Leach, and Fisher. That's quite a cleanup spot, Bob.
Yeah, they might have done him a better favor and let him bat lead off, but they might have felt like if they had him early in the morning, maybe people wouldn't show up. I don't know, but yeah. The SEC Media Days, everybody's a good coach. These are all, even Vanderbilt. That's an SEC job. It's a hard job, and it traditionally has been, a team that struggles to win. But they also had some big years. James Franklin was there. They've gone to bowl games under other coaches. So, Derek Mason, who I thought did a good job there, but it's just a hard place to win. He's the new Auburn defensive coordinator. So, kind of like Barry Odom, went from Missouri to Arkansas. And the SEC, it's kind of like Hotel California. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave because the money's so good for these coordinators. A lot of the head coaches, if they lose their jobs, they become coordinators within the league. Now, they don't have to become coordinators within the league, but it certainly happens a lot, and guys move from coordinator jobs to head coaching jobs. When a guy like Steve Sarkisian, who bring Texas up here at Fayetteville, he went from Alabama to Texas, but you see a lot of familiar faces in the SEC. A lot of times it's kind of musical chairs,
Yeah, it can definitely feel that way, especially now as with everything you just describes with Derek Mason now at Auburn, and we've seen it so many times in the past. Out of some of the new guys besides Sam Pittman, who are you most excited about talking with and kind of picking their brain about the upcoming season?
I guess I'm just curious to see what Mike Leach is going to do, because we know he's a really good coach, and he has a reputation for winning in tough places. Lubbock's not an easy place to win. Pullman's not an easy place to win. Mississippi State has not been an easy place to win, although Dan Mullen did a great job there. But, that's kind of a reputation Mike Leach has. He goes to places that are not the easy. He doesn't go to the marquee programs. He doesn't go to USC or, Texas or Alabama. He's at the programs that usually are down and need to be brought up. Now, it's a little different in Mississippi State. They've gone to bowl game the year before. But, I'm just curious to see how he's going to handle the whole situation, how he's going to handle play. He's going to, stand up there. Some coaches go over their depth chart and talk for a long time. Some just talk a little bit. Some say, let's just start off with questions. Spurrier did that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how. But I'm just curious to see how Mike Leach, what's he like at SEC Media Days. And, Brian Hart's is an interesting guy because he coached at Arkansas State for a year. So he's got some Arkansas ties. It's ironic he's following Gus at Auburn because they both coached at Arkansas State, too. And of course, Hugh Freeze was there. They had those guys, bam, that all got big jobs. Not that Arkansas State's a good job, but they kind of used that to get a bigger job at the time and going to either Boise, Auburn, Ole Miss. And, Eli Drinkwitz, he's an Arkansas guy. He's from Alma, went to Arkansas Tech, I think it is. And he's an interesting guy. Of course, talked to some of these guys on teleconferences before, but a little different when they're on a, quote, big stage and you can ask them things in person, see them face to face. You might be several yards away, but at least you're in the same room. Mm-hmm. So I guess those would be guys I'd be most interested in seeing and hearing.
Bob, last thing, the last time that there were in-person media days, 2019, there were 9 quarterbacks in attendance. One of them was Matt Corral. As a freshman, he is one of 3 quarterback attendees at this year's media days, including J.T. Daniels and Bo Nix. Just find it interesting there. And, I mean, there's your guy who's had more experience in front of these cameras on media days than 6. How many coaches did you say? 6 of them doing this? So,
well, there's going to be 8. There's going to be 7 doing it for the first time, period, as an SEC coach. And then Lane Kiffin has only done it once before, and he'll be at new school. So there's going to be 8 coaches representing their school, this particular school, for the first time at SEC Media Days. And, Matt Corral, I mean, he had a terrible day here in Fayetteville, but the rest of the season was pretty good. I mean, he's highly rated. He had a heck of a season. He's had a really bad day in Fayetteville, and you credit Barry Odom, game plan, the players, for executing it and getting all those picks. But I got a feeling it's going to be a lot harder to face Matt Corral when they play this season. I think he'll, like any good player, he'll be out to atone for that, terrible performance he had.
Bob, we'll let you go with that. Have a safe trip to Hoover. Enjoy, being around all these folks again, and we'll be listening for your questions as always.
Okay, you guys take care.
Appreciate it, Bob.
Bob Holt with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. And I can't wait for that first question. I feel like that's like the moment where you really realize, hey, they're finally doing this the way they used to do it. Halftime brought to you by Wheels RV in Springdale. Get out there and seek everything that the Natural State has to offer in a new RV. Grand Design, Forest River, KZ, Heartland, Keystone, Alliance. That's all the best brands and the best prices at Wheels RV. You can enjoy peace of mind with a lifetime warranty on every new RV and a mobile service shuttle keeping you camping. So get on in there and discover why Wheels RV has been discovered best of the best in Northwest Arkansas for a long time now. 5 miles west off the interstate, exit 72. Seek, explore, discover with Wheels RV.